My grandmother, who's 80 years old and loves knitting as a hobby, had spent the last few months making colorful, custom blankets for each of her grandchildren. She gave Ben and Emma a lovely blanket with different shades of blue and green, knowing Ben's favorite colors. Ben was thrilled, but I could see the disdain in Emma's eyes as she politely accepted the gift, her smile not reaching her eyes. 2 days after Thanksgiving, Ben called me sounding distressed. Emma had thrown the blanket away, saying it clashed with their home decor. When Ben confronted her about it, she insisted that it was just an object and that their minimalist lifestyle was more important. Ben didn't want to fight, but the hurt was obvious in his voice. I told him then that he couldn't keep living like this, constantly walking on eggshells around her obsession. But Ben, always the peacemaker, tried to make excuses for her behavior. A few months later, the real breaking point happened. Emma's obsession started affecting their friends. She hosted a small gathering at their home, and one of Ben's closest friends, Mike, brought over a bottle of wine as a gift, which had a bright red label. Without even a second thought, Emma tossed it out before Mike even left, saying it clashed with the vibe of their living room. Ben was mortified and apologized profusely to Mike after the fact, but the damage had already been done. It was clear to everyone that Emma's obsession was getting out of control. The final straw came when Emma's obsession took an emotional toll on Ben in ways none of us expected. He confided in me that Emma had started micromanaging every aspect of their life together, from what they wore, to what they ate, and even the colors of their food. Ben felt trapped in a world of black and white, where there was no room for anything spontaneous or joyful. Their once loving relationship had devolved into constant arguments, with Emma refusing to acknowledge any problem with her behavior. One day, Ben came home to find that Emma had thrown out a stack of his work documents that had colorful covers because they didn't match her aesthetic. That was the tipping point. He realized then that this was not just about aesthetics, it was about control. Ben called me that night, his voice shaking, and said he couldn't live like this anymore. The next day, Ben told Emma he wanted a divorce. She was shocked, having convinced herself that everything she was doing was for the good of their relationship. She begged him to reconsider, but for Ben, the damage was done. He moved out of their home and stayed with me for a while. Emma didn't take the news well. She started calling him nonstop, leaving him voicemails and sending long, tearful texts about how she would change, but Ben had made up his mind. Things escalated quickly after that. One evening, Ben was at our parents' house when Emma showed up unannounced. She was crying, holding a bag of Ben's belongings she had packed for him. My parents tried to calm her down, but Emma became hysterical, accusing Ben of abandoning her. When Ben tried to walk away, she grabbed his arm and wouldn't let go. It was an awful scene. I had never seen Emma like this, and it scared all of us. My dad ended up calling the police when Emma refused to leave. She wasn't violent, but the emotional breakdown was intense enough that we feared for her safety. The police took her away that night, not for any crime but to get her the help she clearly needed. She spent some time in a mental health facility after that, and while it was hard to watch, it was a relief to know she was getting the care she so desperately needed. Ben has since moved on, although the emotional scars are still there. Emma continues to reach out occasionally, but he keeps his distance, knowing that he can't go back to the way things were. My parents, while sympathetic to Emma's struggles, have sided with Ben in this, understanding that her obsession had crossed the line into something unhealthy.